to warrant a victory. I don't, I don't think we played hard enough and fast enough, or with enough urgency to do that. And like, I know like Leeds and Man City play more to this type of style that we hope, in terms of playing higher line and being a bit more open. And so we will come on to Leeds, the Leeds game, because there was some impressive stuff in that. But he took off both of our wing backs in that Burnley game. That says a lot about how the way he wanted to play, but it wasn't achieving that with the players that were on the pitch. Bentancur had to come off, obviously, for injury, and I don't know enough about the second half, Steve, to really talk about that. But I just don't feel that I never thought that we were going to win that game. I just didn't. I didn't see the way we were playing, that we were going to win it from the way we were playing.
I'm not sure, Steve, that it was arrogance. I think if we'd have scored early, I think we'd have walked that game. But I think it's more to do with not only are we inconsistent, but we do lack confidence. So despite that result, given the fact that we've lost 4 out of the last 5 games, longer it went on, the more we're thinking, oh, this could go wrong. And I think it starts to creep into the psyche of the players. I thought overall we were really trying, and we came out that second half a lot stronger as well. But I do think that for our players fear, or sometimes are quite fearful. And come that sort of 80th minute when we hadn't scored and we're trying to do everything we can to, and then it almost seems like the inevitable that this is going to happen, and our players, it's again, we've leveled that at them before. They're sort of a bit weak mentally, and this is where I suppose Conte probably is furious, is because then we start to revert into sort of behaviours and not doing the basics because we're trying things that perhaps aren't in what he's been trying to teach them to do. So, obviously it's all about opinions, but I do think it's more to do with the fact that we lack confidence rather than being too arrogant for a game like Burnley.
So do you think that we're only confident if we score early then? Because with the Leeds and Man City games, we scored relatively early, and then we're confident. If that's the case, then that shows even more so that the team are mentally weak, and it's pathetic.
Yeah,
you can't expect to go through games and think, right, well, if we have to score early, otherwise we're not going to win the game. That rarely has happened.
I agree, but that's more what I meant, is that I'm not sure. I don't know, but I'm not sure it's because they're arrogant that they think.
I didn't say arrogant. I didn't say arrogant. I just felt that they probably felt that they didn't have to work as hard. They didn't have to work as hard against Burnley as they probably expected to have to work against Man City. They knew it was going to be a different type of game. Man City, mentally, you're set up to understand that, they talk. If you listen to Mora talking in interviews, and I think you listen to Conte talking in interviews, they talk about suffering together as a team and having to suffer. And they knew that, they, in their words, they have to suffer, which means basically, go for large periods of the game without the ball and having to defend for your life, and then trying to be clinical when you're in those situations to score. And that, that's what we did against Man City. Go for long periods without the ball. When we had the opportunities to get in behind, we got in behind. We clinically and ruthlessly and executed that. So, it's a different mentality about that, and they go into the Burnley game knowing that they're probably going to have a lot more possession than they will against the likes of Man City, and that they have to probably force the issue. But I don't think they have certainly on that night, they didn't have the creativity, the
Don't you think, Steve,
to do that.
Don't you think part of the problem is, though, if they go into that Burnley game thinking we're going to have a bit more of the ball, the game starts and Burnley have loads of the ball and we can't get the ball off them, we keep losing the ball, almost immediately our confidence becomes evaporated and Burnley just gets stronger in the game really early on. We struggle to get into the game. And I think that's kind of what happens, really. It's whether we've got trust in each other as a team, whether you really can trust that other players are going to do their job.
No, you're right. I guess you're right. But surely, I mean, my point is that, you know, to go through games like Man City where you basically spend 80 minutes of the game defending effectively, then that relies on a massive amount of trust. You have to trust each other to do their jobs properly. You have to trust each other to be in the right position. You have to trust people to track back and to to cover the spaces and to cover the areas and to block the middle of the pitch like they were asked to do.
Do you think there's also something in this where they're like something like Man City's a free hit? Like their confidence levels, you know, everyone's expecting us to get walloped in that game, so they can kind of just have a good tilt at it and see what happens. Different. Yeah, expectations are very different. Whereas in Burnley, everyone's thinking, right, you should not only win this, but you just come off the back of beating Man City, pressure's all on you.
Okay, but then how would you explain the Leeds result? Because the Leeds
they've been
result,
getting walloped every game, haven't they?
Exactly. So we're expected to beat them as well, surely.
Well, I don't know whether we're expected to beat Leeds. We probably are, by the way. But I think the point with Leeds is that they're asking for trouble all the time, aren't they? So it's kind of, you know, you can get an early goal against them and then that just changes the game.
And to be fair, our defence, I thought, apart from actually, we'll come on to the Leeds game, but and the fullbacks, I thought for the first time started to look really good. They knew their jobs properly, but the centre of defence looked at sea, and they could have. They hit the bar twice. Leeds. They. I mean, it could have been a very different game. You know, we could have won it 7-0, and we could have won it 4-3.
But I think that's the nature of playing Leeds, though, isn't it? Leeds do that to almost every team, even if they're getting battered. They do that. Yeah.
Everywhere they go.
Yeah, everywhere they go.
Okay, so let's jump onto Leeds then. It's like, you know, we kind of brushed Burnley under the carpet very much anyway.
I'd like to.
we didn't win it. It was like, you know, and I mean, just obviously, I think before we go on to Leeds, and let's just quickly cover the Conte interview. I'll let Richard let you come in on this. I don't know if you actually heard the Conte interview or if you tried to not ignore that as well.
Well, I mean, as easy as it was to ignore the game, you couldn't really ignore that bloody interview, could you? You know,
it was more exciting than the game.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it sparked an awful lot more column inches in the 90 minutes that preceded it as well. Yeah. I mean, my initial reaction was it just alluding to something that you said 5 minutes ago that he seems to have come to the end of his ability to suffer quite quickly, hasn't he? For all of this big talk of needing time and everybody's going to have to learn to suffer and to work and to leave everything on the pitch. And I don't know. I mean, obviously it was a matter of frustration, and I'm sure we were all equally as frustrated. But it was bizarre, wasn't it?
But he's done this before. He's done this at every other club that he's been at. I think in the first season at Inter Milan, he did a very, very similar and slagged all the players off. And, you know, we go on about Jose Mourinho slagging players off. He does it as well. As soon as the pressure hits, that's it. You know, they try and release it and the emotion takes over.
And so all the talk of everyone having, you know, this tough mentality, then he ends up like a man-child. And, you know, it's like there's a strange sort of juxtaposition.
That has to be the most petulant after-match interview I've ever seen on the Spurs manager. Terrible.
But what do you think? What do you think was the sort of was there a sort of Machiavellian strand to that? Do you think? Because some have sort of read into it that perhaps what he's trying to do here is ignite the team and get the funds out of Levy, because they subsequently apparently, according to people like Dan Kilpatrick, had a quite a frank discussion with each other, and it's come out that they're going to back him in the summer. Well, what backing him in the summer looks like is another thing, but
if that's the case, that worries me that our club strategy is based on a petulant tantrum. So,
and I don't think it is. I think that that intention was always to back him in the summer. We already discussed, I think, on numerous occasions. Other people have already discussed it. It's already been discussed in the media for quite a while. That Conte doesn't come to the club unless he feels that they're going to follow his strategy, and that there will be like a plan in place, and that he'd already been told in January that January is not the window. January is not the window. Summer is the window when we're going to do we'll be doing the major overhaul. January, you might get the odd person here and there. That's a bonus. But summer's so. Yeah, it doesn't. It just, these kind of things just tie into, the agenda. And that's, Simon Jordan said it. The media, people in the media have an agenda, and they just tie things into that to follow what they want. So, the fact that he's had this little massive strop just days after, as I say, saying how wonderful the players are. And, it doesn't mean to say that all of a sudden Daniel Levy's, oh, fuck it, well, we will pay you then. We will give you the money that you want. I just don't believe that's the case.
Either that, Steve, or Levy's took him aside and said, look, listen, don't worry about it. I've been told by Abramovich that Putin's going to blow the world up anyway. So you don't need to worry about transfer budget in the summer.
Or Chelsea are going to be liquidated, and we can just have all of their ex-players for free.
Yeah. And take their place. And we've won the league as well, because retrospectively they'll take away their awards, their trophies.
I think we're taking some of their players anyway, aren't we? By the sounds of it, we're after Christensen, someone who used to play. He's played under Conte in the past. So. I felt maybe that what I did wonder was whether like this kind of played into Levy's hands, because there's a lot of talk that at the end of the season Pochettino will be leaving PSG, and if he leaves PSG and Conte decides that he's he wants to leave Spurs, then in the summer, then that just all the stars align for this magical.
Once again, where's our strategy? We're waiting for this guy to leave a club to actually take us forward. That's, I've already told you Graham Potter's the man. I mean, Christ.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely doing bits at Brighton at the moment, isn't he? Really?
He wants out. He wants out, mate. He wants out.
I'm pretty sure when we discussed this the other day that you were saying that he was struggling with inferior players. Having previously proclaimed him as the Messiah, but I have to say,
because I forget what I say each time, I have to make a different judgment. But
yes. So right, so let's we have kind of dispensed with Burnley now, and we can move on to the joy,
the
absolute joy that was Leeds. So obviously, Winks come in from the start for Bentancur, who was injured. Doherty came in place of Lee's fave Royale. Lee, I don't want you to summarise the whole game. I just want you to I just want your comment on the betrayal of Royal by Conte. How you felt in that moment. How devastated you were, and how absolutely destroyed you were at 11:30 on Saturday morning when you realised that the star player wasn't in the team.
Conte out. No, I actually, to be honest, when I saw the team and him on it, I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, nobody's had too much faith in Donkey, have they? But he had a really good game. I